Hello, everybody.
Hello, Paul.
This is Paul Kagabine from the Garland County Library, and I'm here with
Greg Wallace
and
Karen Covey.
we are here for our annual retrospective year-end podcast, where we're going to talk about everything that happened in 2023, including all of those dearly departed famous people. This is essentially our in memoriam podcast, but we're also going to talk about some big news events and pop culture moments and what's just going on here at the library throughout 2023. But we're going to start with our in memoriam segment, which is going to take up most of this podcast. And we have a very special announcement.
We've been working on this pretty much all
Oh,
year.
yes.
Karen has traditionally kept the death calendar. I am a death calendar associate. I don't claim to know as much about the death calendar as Karen does, but she has taught me. And like if she's off on a day when there's a notable death, I am allowed to jot it down on the calendar. But we have taken the death calendar to another level, and we're instituting a process this year known as the deathometer, which we are hoping is a scientific way to measure the importance of these notable deaths. We've tried to rank them in the past, but it's subject to too much whim and whimsy. So we want a scientific method for noting these deaths of famous people.
Well said, Greg. And we came up with this 5-factor rubric or formula to determine the number of points that someone gets on our deathometer. So we'll run through those quickly, and these are subject to change in future years. This was kind of a trial year, but I think it overall was successful. We have a lot we can learn from it.
We're aiming to become even more scientific next year.
Yes, we're gonna go into the lab and fine tune it. But our 5-point system begins with the age points. So we took the average age of death for men and women, 2 separate numbers. And from there, depending on if somebody lives way past the expected life expectancy or they die prematurely, they get points based off of that. If they die at the expected age of death, then that's not worth anything, but every additional year plus or minus from that average life expectancy will get them some points on the age factor.
Yes.
After that, we have the cause of death score, and this is the most difficult one to get any points in because dying of average causes isn't going to get you much.
Right. For example, if you're an elderly person and you die in your sleep, then that's great. That's a peaceful way to go, but that's not going to score you any points.
Mm-hmm.
If you die in some sort of horrific accident or, heaven forbid, a murder or something like that happens to you, then I hope that doesn't happen to anyone. But if it does,
You get bonus points.
you get bonus points.
Yes.
You don't want that unless your goal is to hit the top on our deathometer rankings, this very important ranking system, in which case you want the most dramatic death possible.
Yes.
So your average person is going to get a 0, maybe 1 or 2 points in this category. And there is some correlation. The higher you get in your age points, you're probably not going to get very high in your cause of death, because if you live to 100, you probably died of natural causes, but so that'll kind of average out a little bit.
Well, but the opposite is also true. People who die young of some horrific accident could score very well.
Yes, and they'll probably do well in both categories since they died way below the life expectancy age and probably did not die of some natural boring causes.
I was thinking we sort of, in coming up with this system, benchmarked certain deaths. And one of the ones that I had in mind was Princess Diana. Like she would
a
get
good one.
points for age and for
Horrific.
a horrific death.
Our third factor is prominence, and this is the one that is worth the most points. And going forward, we'll probably make this one a little more scientific and get some specific numbers based off of what they did in their life, what their resume was like, what their biography was like. But this one is worth the largest chunk of our scoring system, and we put the most discussion into this category, I would say.
Yes. This is probably the least scientific measurement, but we plan to work on that next year. We just had to use our best common sense to assign points to this, and we have argued over it. It's not like it's a done deal for anyone. There have been certain people where, should they get 40 points for this? We'll, look them up and review their CV and see where we think they should rank.
Yes.
But we hope to make this number more scientific in the future.
And then our fourth factor is the modern notoriety, and that one is the most scientific because it is based off of how much they are getting as far as internet search goes. So at the time of their death, if people are searching for them a lot on Google or Wikipedia, then they're going to get a lot of points. So it just shows how much relevance they have at the time of their death, whereas the prominence score, which is more of a subjective one, is looking at their entire life. And then finally, we have the X factor, where each of the three of us can give some bonus points just based off of our personal feelings about the person and how much significance we feel like they personally had.
And they don't necessarily have to be positive feelings for this person. It can, I'm sure there are examples. I don't know what our particular ones are, but us assigning X factor to a person does not endorse that person's life or death or anything they may have done.
Yes, and that is a good segue before we start to reveal our top 10 into just pointing out that none of this is in the ranking in the top 10 is not an endorsement of any kind by the library or even us as individuals. This is all based off of how many points they got. So somebody that was a horrible person or just someone we don't like at all may be high in our rankings just based off of how many points they got in our system, and vice versa. There's plenty of people and celebrity deaths that happen of individuals we do really like or have some affection for that didn't make our top 10, and we'll give them an honorable mention at the end.
Right. Like sometimes I think Time's Person of the Year is the person of the year for being infamous.
Yes,
rather
a
than,
dictator or
right.
something like that.
Right.
So you may or may not see some of those people in the top 10 we're about to unveil, but again, that's not an endorsement of our personal feelings and certainly not of the library. So without further ado.
Ta-da. Do we have a drum roll?
All right. Number 10 on our deathometer is Bob Barker.
Bob Barker. I think everyone
Pop
has
culture.
fond memories of Bob Barker. He just seemed like a very genial man.
Love the animals.
Loved animals. I remember watching The Price is Right as a young child. I associate it with sick days. It's something you would do if you had a cold. You'd stay home and watch game shows. But as far as game show hosts go, I don't think you could get a whole lot better. Come on down.
I've always wanted to have some kind of Price is Right program here at the library.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
We get a Chevy Nova or something.
Yeah,
Or bedroom suit or camper.
The prizes might not be quite so glamorous, but maybe we could get someone to donate some nice prizes and have something like that.
Yes.
It's a good idea.
Looking for Price is Right program sponsors.
Yes.
Bob Barker of course, scored the max number of points in the age category since he died at 99.
Mm-hmm.
And he also did very well in the modern notoriety category, where he got the max number of points for Google searches at the time he passed.
Very good. Way to go, Bob.
All right. Anything else we need to say about Bob before we move on? Where would you rank him in the game show host pantheon?
He'd be in the top 2.
He'd be up there
Yeah.
with Alex for sure.
Oh yeah. So many.
Richard Dawson.
Loved him. Peter
was
Marshall.
great.
Circle gets the square.
Yeah, that would be an interesting. We could do subsets of these. The top 10 dead game show hosts. And rank them.
Do they still have game shows?
Yeah, they still have game shows.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Family Feud. That's never been in.
Richard Dawson's the last time I've seen Family
Mhm.
Feud.
All right, moving on to number 9 is Harry Belafonte.
Harry
Yes.
Belafonte. Yes. Maybe known more for his
Civic,
activism
yeah.
than his
The singing.
entertaining, even though
He's the most famous calypso musician of all time.
yes,
But
but
very
very active
involved
in the
in the
civil
civil
rights
rights.
movement.
Very vocal. So I think that was what a lot of people see him as. Maybe not like Dale.
Right.
I imagine a lot of people, young people my age and younger, probably are, or at least first introduced to him because of Beetlejuice, with Deo having that.
See, I didn't
Oh,
see
they
that. I don't
famous
remember that
in-
movie.
in
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
It's a very iconic scene in that movie.
Right.
It's with the Banana Boat song.
I've seen
Oh, yeah.
Beetlejuice, but not
I
lately.
haven't,
I don't
I haven't
remember that
seen
part.
it. I don't think so.
Excellent. So I think he is a great addition to
Yes.
the top 10.
Yes, and I also had a note here that he is an EGOTer.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's something as we do make our prominent scores more granular, we may assign points to certain awards, and being an EGOT would maybe get you
Give
some
points.
on top of those individual awards.
So you got to be young, die in a horrific crash, and be an EGOT.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, EGOT means you have won all 4 of the major entertainment awards: Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Isn't there
And-
another one?
Are there
now?
any PGOTs who have also won a Pulitzer Prize?
I don't know.
Look at extra points.
Harry Belafonte is one of only 18 people who have won or achieved the EGOT
Wow.
status.
I better get moving.
I know a lot of them are composers, because they tend to win.
Yeah.
The Tony might be the kind of odd man out of the awards, but they are often in the Tony race.
Let's see, there's only 2 PGOT winners who have a Pulitzer in addition to an EGOT. That's Richard Rogers and Marvin Hamlish.
They're both composers. There we go.
All right, next up at number 8 is Sandra Day O'Connor.
Sandra Day O'Connor,
Recent death.
first
First
female
one.
Supreme Court justice.
So she got a lot of points.
She did. I found out that after she retired, and we have to be perfectly honest, her death was a little bit of a surprise because we sort of thought it had already happened. No disrespect to Ms. O'Connor or her
No.
family. But I did find out after she died that after she had retired from the Supreme Court, she devoted a lot of her time and energy to teaching civics to young people and civic discourse and that type of thing, which seems like we need it more now than ever. So way to go, Sandra Day.
Way to go.
And fittingly, right after her at number 7 is Henry Kissinger.
Mhm.
And I find it interesting that they're back to back because after Sandra retired, she succeeded Henry Kissinger as the chancellor at some kind of college. So
Hmm.
he is succeeding her on our list here.
All right, a controversial figure for sure. He gets a lot of points just for his age because he was 100 or 101.
He was
He was
100.
100 and right at 100. So he got max points on the age category.
But also, hugely influential
Especially in
during
the 70s, the
70s.
Watergate era, and,
Right.
and on to the Jimmy Carter
Mhm.
administration.
Yes. Wasn't he the one that the quote was attributed to, that power is the ultimate aphrodisiac?
Maybe.
Let's see. Next up at number 6, we have Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
Tony Bennett. Yes.
Can't go wrong with Tony.
No, he was
Last of the crooners.
he was beloved. Part of that was just sticking around longer than
Outlasting.
anyone else. But he not only stuck around, but he stayed active and kept
Yes.
recording with younger people, and certainly
He was still in the spotlight when he died, so to speak.
mhm.
And he has a Hot Springs connection.
Yes, he does.
That's right. Didn't he debut "I Left My Heart in San Francisco" at the Vapors?
Yes.
I've heard that story before. So good old Tony.
He gets points for that.
Yep.
Do you think he's the only person on our list that's been to Hot Springs?
Oh, that's a good
I
question.
can't remember who's on the list.
No. Well, I mean, lots of people have come to visit, see
Sin
the
City.
sites. That is a good question. We might assign points in the future for any sort of Hot Springs connection.
In which case, Tony Bennett would have gone up because he was only 1 point behind the next person on our list, number 5, Burt Bacharach.
Oh, Bert.
No, this is a personal favorite of Greg's.
Yeah.
Well, he might not be that well known, especially to younger people, because he was known primarily as a songwriter. I think he did try to record some of his own songs. He did not have a great voice, but he was responsible for so many really great hit songs. During the 60s with Dionne Warwick was his sort of number one interpreter, and Walk On By, Do You Know the Way to San Jose, The Carpenters, Close to You, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. We could spend the next hour just naming his songs. And they were very kind of sophisticated pop.
But still going strong. They're still popular today.
Yeah, they get re-recorded. I don't know of one that's been a hit lately, but I remember when I was a kid, a new wave band came out with a cover of "There's Always Something There to Remind Me." That was a big
Naked Eyes.
a big hit. Yeah, so I have a feeling these songs will keep coming back.
I forgot about them.
And we should also mention Hal David, his lyricist, alive or dead.
Well, and his ex-wife Angie Dickinson,
Yeah.
alive or dead.
Next up, we have the godfather of sitcom, Norman Lear, number
Lear,
4.
who lived to 101, I believe.
His television series career, I don't think you could beat it. I mean, they're still going strong. We have a lot of his series here.
Mm-hmm.
Still checking out, and they always make the list. Like whoever does a list
Of the greatest
Yeah.
TV series of all time. Well, I love those goofy 60s sitcoms like Gilligan's Island or the Beverly Hillbillies. Those were a lot of fun, but it wasn't really until Norman Lear came along that
made you
TV
think.
could be kind of serious and funny at the same
All in the Family.
about contemporary
Yeah.
issues and things like that. The Jeffersons.
We named one more
It says
yesterday.
He did Sanford and Son too, didn't he?
I don't. Did he?
It says here he produced, wrote, created, or developed over 100 shows. The biggest ones being All in the Family, Maude, Sanford and Son, One Day at a Time, The Jeffersons, and Good Times.
Good Times.
So, and a couple of those are actually based on British TV
Yes.
series, which is
Sanford and
one of
Son.
the few cases of the American versions maybe even being better than the originals.
And outlasting, because we don't do British series real good.
No. But
Don't tell that to fans of The Office.
no. But
I've never seen any.
hugely influential.
Yes.
All right, we're moving into our big three, final three. And in third place is Rosalind Carter.
Rosalind Carter, a recent addition to the list.
Yes.
Yes. And something we should have mentioned earlier, we are recording this before it airs. So it's possible with a couple weeks to go in the year that we might miss somebody
Jimmy.
notable. So if we do, we apologize and we'll give them a shout out next year.
Definitely.
And we'll do a breaking
Yeah.
news.
But we, around the holidays, a lot of us are going to be taking time off. So we just had to do this when we could do it.
We've usually done this live in previous years, but just too busy to do that this year. So that's why we're recording in advance.
Rosalind Carter, extremely gracious
First lady.
First Lady. And Karen, I think you mentioned she didn't really just retire. She kept working along with
Jimmy. With Habitat for Humanity, I believe. And I mean, kept working up into the 80s, maybe. I mean, a long time. So I think
she never had any kind of scandals, did she? She didn't buy any china.
No, she was no Nancy Reagan, but I don't think they ever had a scandal except for Billy. But no, Rosalind was just a gracious lady.
Yes.
All right. And at number 2, and this was the person who stayed ranked at number 1 throughout most of the year on our scoring system until she was toppled near the end by our number 1. But at number 2, we have Tina Turner.
Tina Turner, what a story.
Yes.
That is the comeback story for the ages.
Yes.
Just the grit and determination and talent. I don't want to
Lots of talent.
underplay that, but
Often called the Queen of Rock and Roll.
Yes.
The Queen.
Was in an abusive relationship.
Sure.
And Ike had everything all controlled, and she left and she started all over again and became even bigger. So that, just great.
Yes.
What's your favorite Tina Turner song?
Oh, I don't know. I like Better Be Good to Me. I also like
That was
her
a good one.
rendition of Proud Mary and I Can't Stand the Rain. Anything she did, though.
Yeah, she put her own. She, I was telling you, Paul, yesterday that a lot of these newer female singers all have kind of a similar intonation and they sound a little bit similar. You hear Tina Turner on the radio and there's no one else that sounds like that.
And her album came out, I think, in the 80s that really put her back on the best. I mean, and she was in movies. Mad Max.
Yeah, she had a swagger to her.
Yes, and she did duets with Rod Stewart and her. I forgot who it was. It was up there. It was just great. David Bowie, maybe.
I actually got to see her at Barton Coliseum. Yes. Do you want to guess what the opening act was? If I remember correctly, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, see, not a lot of people know Mr. but they know Tina Turner.
Yep, that's true.
She was one for the ages.
Yep.
I find it really impressive that she's number 2 because unlike everybody else in our top 10 who scored a lot in age points for dying way older or younger than average, she pretty much died at an average age. So she got almost nothing in the age points category, but that's just how much we gave her in prominence, and she scored in her Google searches and the X Factor that we gave her, that she was still able to get number 2 without any age points, really.
Well, did you see her get up and dance? And she was past the dancing age on stage. But I mean, she could cut a rug.
She sure could.
All right. Well, we will unveil our number 1 here momentarily But before we do that, we'll give some shout outs to some honorable mentions.
These were kind of just bubbling under the top
Mhm.
10. My pick is Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman. I know he didn't make the top 10. He might not have even made the top 15, but he was a really special kind of talent. I know not everybody might not be into Pee Wee. You might think it's stupid or what have you, but
Well, he was so big, and then he kind of drifted off, and you just didn't really think about him too much.
Mhm. Well, it might be that particular character you couldn't sustain over
Right.
40 years.
But I mean, it was just like,
for that 5 or 10 years that he was hot, he was really
He was
fresh and funny.
Jimmy Buffett didn't make the list. He was a biggie.
Yeah.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, because I think he kept his illness hidden.
Yeah.
Sinead O'Connor.
Sinead O'Connor, yes, very talented, very outspoken,
Yes.
very mentally
Had some, she had some
Had
loss in her
some-
personal life
some-
that she couldn't handle.
some issues. Yeah.
Has anyone ever been to a Margaritaville? Speaking of Jimmy Buffett,
No, it was too
No.
expensive when we went. I was like,
I haven't
can't
had the
afford
pleasure.
that. But where was? They're in Tennessee. There was one in Tennessee at the island of Pigeon Forge, and it was busy,
Mhm.
extremely busy.
I know Suzanne Summers was on
That's
our
a big
bubbling
one.
under
Well,
list.
yep, she is.
Three's Company was huge when I was a kid, and she
Everyone
went
knock on my
on
door.
to be the Thigh Master lady,
Yes,
and I believe she also wrote a volume of poetry.
she was a spokesperson, for
Yeah.
different products.
Since we're a library, I think we have to mention probably the most notable author death of the year.
Cormac
Cormac
McCarthy.
Yes.
Raquel Welch, I forgot about her.
Raquel Welch.
Mhm.
Yes.
David Crosby.
Yes. Yes, Brooks Robinson, for those in Arkansas.
Oh, and the first big death of the year, which was Lisa
Lisa
Marie.
Marie, yes,
Mhm.
I just saw her. Lisa.
Well,
That was a
didn't you say that there were a couple that didn't make it into last year's?
Yes, they died right in those last few days, and they probably, if we had had this system last year, like they each would have made the top 10, and probably would have made the top 10 this year. And one of those is Barbara Walters, who died at
Yes.
the very end of 22,
She just didn't make the calendar, sorry.
Sorry, Barbara.
and the other one is Pele.
Pele. Yes.
Soccer star.
Yep.
So shout outs to them. Sorry you missed our deathometer cut.
Yeah, you have to die, but by December
Within-
20th, I think. Too.
All right, now we're ready to reveal our number one.
All right.
This, I think, was a surprise at the time, and surprised that he's number one, but I definitely see why. I mean, it was just such a shocking thing, and people are still talking about the why and the how and reminiscing over it, and that is Matthew Perry.
Matthew
Mhm.
Perry.
Young.
Chandler Bing.
Mhm. Show is still popular.
That show never goes out of style. Young people are into it, surprisingly, because it is a little bit dated, but there's just something about it that keeps bringing people back to it. And he definitely, we still don't know his exact cause
Yeah.
of
Just know he's found in a hot tub.
death, but the hot tub gave him some extra.
Gave him
so-
extra points. So that
Being so young, and then the cause of death being a mystery, and friends being
So
so
popular.
relevant to the
Well, and also that he was so outspoken about his struggles with
addictions,
substance
yeah.
abuse, and he had a best-selling book about a year ago that detailed a lot of that. I think that all added up to where he ended up on the
Number
chart.
one.
Yeah. If we were just going strictly by talent, I don't want to say that he was less talented than Tina Turner, but it's.
You know him by that show. Because he did have a couple of other TV series that didn't really pan out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but Friends just keeps on
going.
Yep.
And the shock factor definitely boosted him to number one here, but I still think he would have done very well even without that, without the shock and the mystery, just because of how big of a star he was in the 90s, and not everyone from a popular 90s show is still recognizable, in the 2020s. So it's more than almost every 90s TV actor can say.
True. Yeah. Maybe Jerry Seinfeld.
The rest of the Friends cast.
Yeah. Well, Matthew.
Rest in peace, Matthew.
Rest in.
And everyone in our top 10.
Well, everyone
yeah,
on our
yeah,
list.
everyone on the list, not just the top 10.
All right. Now that we've got the sad part out of the way of our retrospective podcast, let's talk about the rest of 2023.
Oh, I can't even remember it.
I can't either. Time is
What
just
is it?
so
I know
weird.
what has happened. I was like, what has happened this year?
No, have not. Paul, you'll have to remind us.
Well, Greg, what do you, off the top of your head, I know you didn't come with stats, what were some of our biggest library checkouts of the year?
Well, the new John Grisham book was very big. It's a sequel to The Firm. That one has been huge. Britney Spears' biography has been very big.
I can't remember that.
And Ann Patchett's most recent book has been pretty popular.
There was one on
There was
there.
a Duggar book that was pretty hot.
Yeah, and was not, I don't know, Iron Flame. It's just because it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
sequel to Fourth Wing, which
Yeah, Fourth
picked
Wing.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, Fourth Wing was very big this year.
I can't even think. He's like,
Yeah.
Well, anything big happened at the library that stands out to you that we can share? Because there's always something to tell every day, but
like a fun story.
yeah, or just changes, things we've added on. I know we're planning our big
Garden?
remodel and our
The
garden
garden,
launched.
The
Yes,
garden opened.
That-
That was one of the
that
bigger
was in
things this year.
early June.
The passes are always big. Mid-America and Garden.
Yes.
Mhm.
Those are, I mean,
Yeah.
might be 2000 or 2025 before you get there's so many people on hold.
Yep.
Yeah, we debuted our big bookmobile,
Oh, yes.
which if you haven't seen it yet, you can find it out and about in the community. It makes several outreach stops now across the county, or you might catch it here sometime during the week, and we're happy to give you a tour of the bookmobile anytime.
Yes.
Yes. The garden happened. We had Fisherween again, which is
Mhm.
always popular.
We had our True Crime Fest, the second annual.
Yes, that was big.
That was successful.
Yeah, we've continued to resume our in-person programs and
Yes.
activities, and
Oh, the Santa Claus visit was huge.
oh yeah, that just happened. I mean, that
Yeah,
surpassed expectations, which, I mean, and expectations were high because it's Santa.
yeah, and it surpassed that, so that was huge.
Or what in terms of programming? Seems like you consistently get a huge crowd for the Historical Society. Have there been any others that maybe are not, these one-time programs like a True Crime Festival or what have you, but programs where you're getting a great response?
We have an ongoing astronomy
Mhm.
series,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be a big story of 2024 is
Yeah.
the big solar eclipse that's passing through Hot Springs here. And that's what inspired starting this astronomy series. We have Jerry Simmons, who is heavily involved with the Stargazers Club and does a lot of astronomy talks. So this is an 8-part series. It's going to continue into next year, leading up to April's eclipse. The last program in this series will be in March. So even if you missed the last few, you'll be able to catch some early next year.
All right. Yeah, and unfortunately, most of the things that happen we can't talk about. Like, have to call the police or
Yeah. It's never a dull
Clean up
moment at the
something.
library.
True. Yes.
Friends of the Library's big sale,
Yeah.
their annual sales was good.
Yeah.
Program I thought was fun was when we had Kat Robinson to talk about her new book, The Great American Pie Book. Got to see
Yes.
some pies.
dairy
Everyone.
bars?
Everyone loves pie. Yes. Very, very good.
So yeah, it was a really great year at the library, and we're looking forward to 2024. We'll have some more news about our remodel, hopefully soon. You might have seen some articles in the paper in the last couple months.
Yeah, we have a model of the proposed changes at our desk. If you would like to come see that, we are super excited, especially me and Paul, because currently we do not have an office to plot and do things like this. We're just out in the bullpen, which is kind of fun because you get to see everything that's going on. But then there are times when it would be nicer to have a little bit more peace and quiet to try to plan some things. So we are super excited that we get an office.
Yes, that's what I'm personally most excited for. How about you, Karen? If everything happens that we hope happens with the remodel.
No, I'm excited.
Yeah, more meeting spaces.
Yes.
Hopefully more up-to-date technology in the meeting spaces. Maybe a recording studio where we can do things like this with professional equipment.
And a programming kitchen that the public will be able to use to take cooking classes.
Yeah.
And it'll be a really great process because you can check out one of our raised garden beds up in the community garden, grow some crops, vegetables, fruits up there, herbs, and then come down to our training kitchen and learn how to prepare a meal with them.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's neat.
All right. So great times at the library in 2023 and to come in 2024. But let's talk about what happened in pop culture
Okay.
throughout the year.
Ready.
Go.
All right. What do we want to trivia you on? Movies, music, or sports?
I'm having trouble remembering last week. I mean, I've just gone blank. I'm like, what has happened this year? So whatever you give me, I'm probably going to fail. So it doesn't really matter. I do not know anything about music.
I
right.
don't either, but that's fine.
Let's start with film.
Film.
What was
I have no idea.
the
Barbie.
You're right.
What was it?
The highest grossing film of 2023
Was what?
was Barbie.
Barbie.
I thought you said Harvey. And I was like, there is no way. Oh, Barbie. I forgot about Barbie.
Yeah, it was a phenomenon of the summer. I mean, I've seen a lot more pink since Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. And Ken was just hilarious.
Yes.
I haven't seen it
I
yet.
have a Ken hoodie.
Yes. And my first name is Kenneth. So
Oh,
My
quit
middle
trying
name
to
is Kenneth.
live off the
are
Barbie.
you serious?
Yeah, you
I
didn't
didn't
know that?
know that.
Yeah, my middle name's Kenneth.
Oh my goodness, you're a Ken too.
Oh, please, you too.
How did I not know that?
I don't know. Not looking through my personnel files enough, I
I
guess.
guess not.
Got two Kenneths at the table. You're a Karen.
Yes.
Yes. And what was the highest grossing animated film of the year? It was the second highest grossing film overall.
Frozen.
Animated, like a cartoon.
Donald
It
Duck.
was the
Oh,
Super Mario Bros. Movie.
oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So two big pop culture icons got the two biggest movies of the year, Barbie and Mario.
All right. Way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way to go.
And then one more in third. Who is the director for Oppenheimer?
Oh, that guy.
No one.
Yeah.
Nolan, that's right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the Oscars. I think a lot of people think Oppenheimer and Barbie will get nominated for Best Picture, and I saw Ryan Gosling's a front runner for Best Actor of the Year.
If he does not win, then the whole thing is rigged, and I'll think those awards are even dumber than I already do.
I've got to see this now.
You haven't seen Barbie?
Hmm.
I think you're the only one in the whole world.
I did watch the new Indiana Jones on the Disney Channel.
Was that the one where they digitally?
Yes, it is. It's
Not your favorite.
not my favorite Indiana Jones movie. That's the only new movie I think I've seen this year. I didn't see Oppenheimer or Barbie or Avatar or anything.
I did the whole Barbenheimer double feature, which made for a long evening.
Yeah, so
Oh my
did my
gosh.
daughter. Yeah, it was like she was going all day. It was perfect.
It was fun though. I mean, it's kind of whiplashy seeing the two back to back because they're so different in tone, but both great movies in their own right. All right, music.
No idea.
Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I was
well,
like,
this one would have been hard to avoid even if you haven't heard a single song, And Time Magazine's Person of the Year,
Taylor
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 Swift.
Swift.
My
Greg's
daughter loves
favorite
Tay.
person,
Tay.
favorite celebrity.
Mm.
She had a big year.
She did. She
that-
got like a
that
billion off her.
Eras tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And now she's dating
Officially a
Travis
billionaire.
Kelsey.
which is
And-
also sports news.
I
Sports
have
news.
to admit, she does seem like a generous person. She gave a lot of money to her truck drivers and things like that. But my quibble with it is that it's tacky to tell anyone about it.
Well, maybe
Well,
she
they'd
did
find
tell
out
her.
regardless.
Do that. I mean, do whatever charitable undertaking you want to do, but I don't want to hear about it. That's just kind of trashy.
Well, maybe she didn't say it. Maybe somebody else said it.
Her publicist.
Oh, well. Yeah, Taylor, is that Time's
She was Time
Mhm.
Magazine's Person
Person
of the Year.
I was going to say Man of the Year. Person of the Year. Wow. Go Tay Tay.
Yes. So we did the top 3 movies of the year. Let's see, top 3 Billboard songs of the entire year.
Rocking Around the Christmas Tree.
No, that's
No.
that's number 1
Staying Alive.
most recently.
Oh, the one about
mm, so-
Richmond, the men, the
No,
Men of Richmond,
Richmond.
West
Nope,
of
nope.
Richmond.
The number 1 song of the year was a country song.
Was it
what?
Morgan?
It was Morgan
Wallen.
Wallen
Was it
last night.
What?
Last night.
I don't know that one.
And then number 2 was Miley Cyrus, Flowers.
Oh,
I'm not even.
Number 3 was SZA, Kill Bill, and Taylor Swift only had the 4th biggest song of the year, but that was kind of unfair because it overlapped with last year.
Yeah.
It's Anti-Hero.
Okay.
All right, sports news in 2023. This is the big one for Karen.
Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Travis dating Taylor.
Novak
don't-
Djokovic won 3 of the Grand Slams. That's the only thing I know. Tennis is the only
Dick
one that I
Butkus
follow.
died. Jim Brown died.
Yeah, but there were a couple of big sports deaths that we didn't mention earlier.
Dick
There's some,
Butkus.
yeah, there's some in soccer too, but I don't know.
Pele. Oh, you did mention
Well, there's another
Pele.
soccer
He was
guy
at the
too,
tail end of
I
last
think.
year.
But
Let me
Yeah, I don't
refer
know.
to our list
I
here.
know about football is pretty much what I
It was Bob Knight.
Bob Knight, coach
Angry
in
coach.
Indiana. Yeah. Probably throwing chairs, man.
All right, let's see who won the NBA Finals.
Lakers.
Bulls.
The Nuggets,
The
Denver
Nuggets.
Nuggets.
The Hershey Nuggets. I love Hershey's. I love those little candies. Or chicken nuggets. I love chicken nuggets too.
Mm.
Well, did either of you have anything fun happen personally this year? You go on any
Yeah.
good trips?
Nope.
The Pigeon Forge.
I went to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It was very nice up in there. We did not go to Dollywood. Dolly was big too this year.
Dolly
Yeah,
had her
she-
rock
Dolly,
star
yeah,
album.
Mhm.
and she come out in that Cowboys outfit,
Mhm.
cheerleaders outfit.
Mhm. Last year, she got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just
And she decided, in order to make it honest, because she initially wanted to refuse being
Right.
Mhm.
inducted.
And for maybe the first time ever, someone turned down Dolly and they
they
inducted
said
her
we were
anyway,
being
which is
inducted.
pretty rock and roll of them.
Yeah. Well, the thing
Yeah,
about the
she-
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's not really rock and roll. It's more of pop music
Mhm.
Hall of Fame.
And she's Miley's godmother.
That's true. Yeah.
That paved the way for more country acts to get in because this year Willie Nelson got in.
Oh,
Well, he should. Willie,
Yes.
yes. It's his 90th. He's 90 years old.
Yeah.
I love me some Willie.
Yeah.
Well. Any final thoughts? Wrap up for the year?
I guess not. Just keep on
Keeping on.
keeping on.
Keep on trucking.
Yeah, and if any elderly celebrities are out there,
Yeah.
you know,
Please make it 2 more weeks so we can talk about you next year. I'm
Yes.
missing you.
yes. All right. Well, happy
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for listening.